There's a confidence and a swagger that may have been the fact that I cleaned up and got sober 3 years ago. That certainly changed a lot in my demeanor and my outlook on life and my world. People say it all the time, but for me, it was true. It had a huge effect and a renewed vigor. So I went into this album with my eyes really wide open and very more excited and probably than I usually am about anything else. And it was a joy to make. It was a joy to write. It was a joy to get rid of a lot of demons. I felt I'd exercised a few demons in the lyrics, but I think I did it in a positive way.
What's up, everybody? It's Keefy at ghostcultmag.com. I'm super stoked to welcome in once again the great Ricky Warwick. How are you doing, sir?
I'm very well, thank you. Good to see you.
Yeah, great to see you. First and foremost, I know you just said offline you're in Ireland right now. I hope your home, your family, your friends, your collaborators are okay. We just went through like the worst of the worst with the fires. I'm in Northern California, so no stranger to
Yeah.
fire fear and stuff. And I just hope everybody in your circle.
Well, thank you. We were good. It came pretty close to the place in LA. We're in Beverly Hills and we're sort of right next door to Pacific Palisades, which just got completely decimated. And my daughter had friends that went to Pali High School there, and the whole school's gone. And it was awful. I was over here and I got back. I was in Ireland. I got back to LA about 2 days after the fires had started, so it was still ongoing. And crazy times. It's a crazy times we're living in.
Absolutely. Last time we chatted, I was living in Brooklyn, and the
Huh?
time before that was Boston. So now it's like all over the world. Ricky and Keith,
Hey,
our new
moving around.
podcast.
That's good.
I am moving around a bit, and but since I came to California, you're always worried about the big one, right? The earthquakes and not the
Sure.
fires. But I was
Sure.
taught the fires are actually an every year thing for northern and southern California. So again,
Yeah, just obviously not to the extent we had in Los Angeles this year. That was definitely a doozy. It's crazy.
yeah, just and then everything else. The world at large is crazy. So,
Oh,
I just hope
oh,
your whole
thank you.
crew and
Well, I
your family
appreciate
are all right.
that. We're all doing the best we can. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and as always, music is the relief. Music is the balm when we're burned and we're in pain. So I love Blood Ties. This is fantastic coming
Thank you.
out as we record this almost on the eve of the album drop from Earache Records,
Yep.
which is fascinating in and of itself. And that Earache is still going strong after like 35 years.
Yeah.
There's a label I used to get tapes from in the 80s and
Sure.
90s
Sure.
from Terrorizer magazine and Kerrang as an import
Of
in
course.
America,
Of course.
and now they're still here. So Blood Ties, man, we were talking, over the years and the time I've reflected back on, I listen when I get to do an interview with someone, I deep dive, I listen to everything I can, get my grubby little hands and ears on. And I know, in the previous solo work, as you were trying to, fend your way through, what it looks like to be back as a solo artist, that you were getting, even more personal than ever before with your work. And I feel like Blood Ties is kind of a very uplifting, again, needed right now, a very uplifting, overwhelmingly positive, good
Mhm.
record. Is that an indication that, it's good to be Ricky right now?
Yeah, thank you. I think it's good to be comfortable in your own skin, and I think I am finally starting to feel very, very at home with who I am, or whoever the hell Ricky Warwick is. And I think that came through on the record. There's a confidence and a swagger that may have been the fact that I cleaned up and got sober 3 years ago. That certainly changed a lot in my demeanor and my outlook on life and my world. People say it all the time, but for me, it was true. It had a huge effect and a renewed vigor. So I went into this album with my eyes really wide open and very more excited and probably than I usually am about anything else. And it was a joy to make. It was a joy to write. It was a joy to get rid of a lot of demons. I felt I'd exercised a few demons in the lyrics, but I think I did it in a positive way. I've never been a fan of, that it's all doom and gloom, the world's going to end. That's it. I'm always like, yeah, it's doom and gloom, but there's still a lot of good stuff going on out there. There's still a lot of good people. There's still a lot of good things happening. You may have to look a little harder for it, but it's there.
I like that. I also am the same way. And was there any trepidation? Also, I'm not drinking as much as I used to. I'm not quite sober, not, but I can't drink anymore as much as I used to or enjoy because of medical stuff. So I know I'm like, oh, are people gonna like me even when I don't have a drink in my hand? And
Well,
maybe it's
the
just a
hardest
part
thing
of my
about the hardest
personality.
thing about not drinking is other people.
Yeah,
People say, "What's
absolutely.
the toughest thing?" And the hardest thing is that the people that can't wrap your head around the fact that you're not drinking, therefore you must be having a shit time. That's that. And then, I'll get people to go on about it. And I'm like, I'm doing great. I'm having a great time. You're ruining it for me because you seem to be having an issue with what's going on in my life. And that's the hardest part about it is that peer pressure from other people. Once you kind of move past that, for me, I don't even think about it anymore. I'll still go out to the pub with my mates. I'll leave earlier. I'll get to that point where they're on their fifth or sixth pint, or the whiskey comes out, and they're on that level that it's just silliness where you can't get on that plane. That's fine. I'll just go, guys, it's great. It's 11 o'clock. I'm going home. I'm going to get up tomorrow at 7 o'clock. My head will be clear. You're going to wake up tomorrow with a atrocious hangover. If you're into that, more power to you, but that's just not my kick right now.
Right on. Good for you. And, it does work if you work it, as they say. And you know what I thought about, even not related to this, but I watched recently the Shane McGowan documentary, and how could you not be a fan? We talked before about him being an influence, his influence over everybody. And, I just felt so bad for him. He was suffering so much at the end of his life. Yeah. And I just was like, oh my God, like, I'm so glad I didn't do even more damage to myself than I did, because here's a beautiful, wonderful, genius person that robbed himself from the world. And he had like a lifetime of problems, right? And demons to work out himself. But just like, I just felt I don't think I ever felt so bad for an artist in my whole life. Like, I just felt so bad for him. He struggled so badly at the end.
Yeah, it's a shame, and for some people, it's an affliction that they can't overcome. Some artists don't want to overcome it. That's who they are and what they are, and they'll go out that way. Shane was a great writer and a great poet, and left his mark, and was certainly uncompromising right till the very end.
Indeed, there's a healthy kind of stubbornness that you need to have, I think, as an artist. You can appreciate that, to again, to follow your own path. And I also always think about, like, the very first time I heard his voice, I was like, oh my God, this is the voice of a million sorrows, but also, like, why does it make me feel better? Why does sad music make me feel better? It just does, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I you talked about, like, kind of feeling comfortable with yourself. I often feel like men, especially, our generation of men, I think we're just a little more smooth-brained longer. Like, the folds don't fully come in the brain flesh until much later in life, for whether it's wisdom or whatever it is we have to go through our journeys, right? But I just feel like I meet very mature women at a younger age, and they're like, they got it figured out. And I'm just like, what am I doing? I'm a 52-year-old man child. Why don't I have this better figured out? I didn't plan for it. That's what it was. I thought we were going to go out in a hail of fallout, and I didn't think we were going to be here. But yeah, man, Blood Ties, this is so strong and so wonderful to hear these up-tempo, uplifting songs. And I know, obviously it all begins and ends with you, but I wanted to talk about Keith Nelson's, a friend and a collaborator, and almost randomly, for a person that has sold millions of records, very underrated as a co-writer and a producer. So I wanted to ask you about your relationship and your working relationship.
Agreed. It's extremely talented guy that goes under the radar more than he should, but I think he kind of likes it that way now. Keith. Now, I mean, he's so underrated, but I think Keith kind of likes it that way now. I mean, he stepped back from Buckcherry for a reason, that he didn't want to go on the road anymore. And he wanted to concentrate on songwriting and being an engineer. And he's got his own studio now, which is fantastic. He's become a hell of an engineer. He already was a hell of a guitar player and a hell of a songwriter. So that's just another string to his bow now, that he's so good at engineering. And we've built up a relationship from the last record. I really only met Keith literally right before we started making the last record. Now I feel like I know the guy. We're 5-6 years down the road. So again, there's a bond, there's confidence builds up there. You get comfortable being in somebody's company. You're not afraid to sort of say stuff. I can't say enough good things about Keith. I bring him an idea and he gets it. He has a vision and he makes it about me. He doesn't try and, oh, I'm Keith Nelson from Buckcherry and it needs to sound like this. It's like, I want to make a Ricky Warwick record. And that's a great thing, and it makes my life really easy. And he brings so much to the table. He's fantastic.
And of course, what you want out of every record, and you help write the songs, so you want to, you have your
Well, I
own
think I
vision.
know. It doesn't always turn out that way.
Right, of course. But and also like you've always been, always had a great spirit of collaboration, whatever project it was or your solo work. And speaking of
Thank you.
collaborators, I love these guest appearances on the
Right
record,
on.
especially Lita, who I got to meet once and was fantastic. It's such a great compliment to your voice. Her voice comes in and it's unbelievable. Great job.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you very much. No, I'm honored to have her be such a part of it, not just sing on the track, but agree to be in the video and do such a great job in the video as well and the whole thing. She, as you know, she's wonderful. She really is.
Yeah, I'm so happy there are still videos being made, as sometimes it feels like maybe maybe the time is gone,
Yeah,
but
you
I
know, you don't really get the same kind of budget now. You kind of get to do them on a shoestring, and that's okay. You can do some great stuff if you've got a good vision and a creative director. You can do them pretty cheaply. You certainly don't need to spend the obscene amounts of money that were spent on them in the 90s. But we had a clear vision. We shot the video, and Lisa lives in Phoenix. We shot the video in Phoenix on her doorstep in an old boxing ring, and she was just great. It was just such a great day hanging out with her. We had such a laugh.
Yeah, it's a fun clip. I'm gonna link it in the description so everybody can see it. But the other collabs also, the other guest appearances are great. And I wanted to ask, is that something where you wrote for them or wrote the whole album and then decided like this song needs somebody else on it?
Oh no, absolutely. You know, the album was written, narcissistically for me, and then it's a question of wouldn't it be cool, who out of the great people that who are friends that are also amazing artists can we get into to add some sparkle on some of these songs and Billy Duffy's a great friend of myself and Keith's. We hang out together. We're tight, and I've all tried to get Billy in before. It's just he's been on tour, I've been on tour, it just hasn't worked out, but this time everything aligned perfectly, and Billy was able to come down for the day and make his mark on a couple of songs, which was tremendous. Charlie Starr is all Keith. I'm a big fan of Charlie and Blackberry Smoke, but I didn't know the dude. I've never met him. Keith is great friends with him, and Keith suggested Charlie on the track Rise and Grind and sent it. I've now got to know Charlie through texting. I still not met the dude, but Charlie just did an amazing job. Absolutely honored to have him on there. So it was really, really cool. Tuck Smith, a big fan of the Biters. Tuck's a buddy. Again, talking about somebody who's underrated. He's such an underrated, artist as well. So lovely to have Tuck on there. And then Ben Cristo from the Sisters of Mercy. Ben plays in my solo band. So that was a no-brainer just to have Ben on there as well. So very blessed to have these people give up their time and give me their great artistry on the songs.
Yeah, Billy's another one like you. I don't know if you feel like they're working even more than now than ever. And Keith could fall under that too. And we are big supporters of Tuck and everything Tuck
Awesome.
does here. Big Biters fan as well.
Yeah,
But
awesome.
yeah, it's fun. And I think they help, they don't take away. That's the most important thing whenever you have a guest come on, you
No,
want them to add.
they add to it, and I think that's the beauty of doing the solo record as well. Obviously, you're not putting any of the guys in the band noses out of joint by having a guitar player coming in and stealing your guitar player's, spot in the limelight or vocalist or something. With the solo record, you can just do what the hell you want. You can have who you want on it, and nobody's going to say boo. It's great. So that was nice. That was nice to be able to do that.
Right. At the end of the day, it has your name on it. And number
Well,
one.
that's it.
What's it like? Like I said, I alluded to earlier in the chat about earache. I think it's an inspired choice. Similar to the job market, you don't better your circumstances until you have a period of time somewhere, get some credentials, and move on to another place. So you're no stranger to changing labels and things like that. And you've been with earache for a second, but it's fascinating how some of the older and oldest labels are still alive, and earache is really now, like, in terms of the new music that they put out beside their back catalog of all this extreme metal, they
Yeah,
have these amazing rock bands. This is like the thing they're doing now, is like these great modern
absolutely.
current rock bands.
Yeah, they're great. They're great. They're, as you said, you said it best. They're an old school label. Have been going for over 30 years. And Digby Pearson that runs the label wears his heart in his sleeve and is very enthusiastic and really believes in the acts that he works with. And that's great to see. And it feels like an old school label. Don't get me wrong, the money's not what it used to be, but Digby's astute enough to realize that, if he wants a great record, you have to pay for the studio time and that kind of thing. And that's lovely to still have that. We did the last Black Star Riders record with them. They did a fantastic job of that record. They got it, a top 10 record in the UK. And that was right during the tail end of the pandemic, so there was no real touring to promote it and all. They did a wonderful job. And for me, when I heard they were interested in possibly, picking up the solo record, there was a no-brainer. I was like, absolutely. And the promotion and the work they've done thus far has been just fantastic.
It's one of those things later in your career, you need to have those, there aren't as many comforts as you said, or the money, but it's important to have those relationships and still
Very
build,
much so.
trust. The
Yeah,
trust is a lot, and especially in this day and age, like you came from the era where vinyl was originally the only
sure.
medium, and then the CD, and now vinyl is back, which I'm thrilled. I'm excited.
Thank you.
Earache does a marvelous job on their vinyl, by the way. I don't know where
It
they get
does.
they,
It's
they,
phenomenal what they do. It really
I,
is.
in
And that was
addition,
one of the things that appealed to me about them as well, being a
yeah, of
vinyl.
course. The packaging is going to be top notch. In addition to doing these interviews and everything else we do with news with Ghost Cult, I have a vinyl podcast, and we talk about how what brands are doing great work and where
Yeah,
to avoid. And yeah, Earache, if you get in on any of those reissues for anybody out there that's a longtime metal fan, and their new stuff is pressed beautifully, packaged beautifully with care. Like they know vinyl nerds love this label and love these bands, and they take care of you. So I will always stand a good label that takes care of their listeners. Yeah, man.
absolutely. Well, they're great. They really are.
Absolutely. So you've been beside this record coming out, you've been extremely busy, as you know. Before last time we talked, you were like, maybe the Almighty's going to come back. Now you've done a whole comeback
Mhm.
tour and all this other stuff. Besides, obviously supporting this new record, is there anything else on the docket for you this year, or potentially for the future?
The Almighty, we just got back from Japan about 3 weeks ago. We were in the studio last week doing something that's pretty special. It's not a new record, but we've been recording. So that's going to see the light of day quite soon. And I'm excited about that. Really, I'm, about to hit the road with this record on first shows this Saturday. And we're out for pretty much all of March in the UK. So, I want to push and promote this record as much as I can this year. Black Star Riders isn't finished. We're on a hiatus, but we will be coming back around again at some point. Just keeping busy. The priority for me right now is this record and the solo stuff. That's sort of taken over everything, and that's what I really want to focus on and want to push. We will do some more Almighty shows at the end of the year, and I'm keeping busy, staying out of trouble.
Nice. That's the best way. I will say I'm going to have one request. Please make more Christmas music. I am by no means religious, but I love
Thank
holiday
you.
music, and I love that Christmas song so
Oh
much.
man, thank you.
That
Appreciate
really
that.
gave me a lift at the end of the year during a bad
Well,
time.
thank you, and that's what it was supposed to do. There was no agenda behind that. There was no, I knew I was writing a cheesy Christmas. I wanted to write a cheesy, good time Christmas song. I just wanted to write a song that just made people feel good because I loved Christmas when I was a kid. We didn't have a lot of money, but the family coming together, that feeling that you got was magical. And then when my own kids now are all grown up, I went through all that with them. And I've written the pessimistic, dark Christmas song with the Almighty, the track Bandage Knees.
Yeah.
And I just thought, I want to, and I love, Roy Wood, Wizard, I Wish It Could Be Christmas Every Day, Fairy Tale in New York, the Pogues, obviously, Slade, Merry Christmas. And those were songs of my youth, and they would just feel good rock Christmas anthems. And I thought, you know what? I'm just going to write a Christmas song. I don't care. And if it makes somebody smile, there you go. It made me smile. So job done.
Make more in the future, please. The only artist who can make a sad Christmas song sound happy was the Ramones, and I'm not against that either. But I
There you go.
really
Another great Christmas song.
Yeah, Merry Christmas, Baby, I Don't Want to Fight. And they had a couple actually, but yeah, I'd love to get a whole album or an EP from you on that, because I think it was beautifully done. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Ricky, always a pleasure to see you, man. I hope
Thank
we'll get
you.
you back. We'll get you back when you're done with your home out there in the States at some point, and see you on tour. And again, we'll have a coffee together. And I love to see you again in person, like a while back. Just keep up the good work, and keep taking care of yourself. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you too, man. Appreciate all the support. It means a lot. Thank you very much.